Welcome everyone to the webinar. We are going to be going over how detoxifying can change your life. This is a super important workshop because it's one of the critical things that I'm finding now. In order to get somebody's health back on track, you're going to have to cleanse the body. So be sure to take some notes. It'll help you to retain the information of the webinar. And if you have a question, please feel free to email me at drmark@gmail.com. So let's get started here. Okay, briefly, my name is Dr. Mark Steenerson. I've been in clinical practice for 39 years plus, and I specialize now in nutrition and wellness. So there are five main reasons that I recommend detoxing. Number one is because of all the environmental chemicals that are now building up in our body. There are chemicals that are in our food, heavy metals, which create what we call systemic acidosis. Our body becomes very acid from these chemicals. They imbalance our hormones, and if we want to have increased health and longevity, you have to detox. There's just no getting around it. Now let's take a look at one of the experts here. This is Dr. Perizano, and he's authored over 17 books. He's worked with presidents. He's had 50 years of clinical work, and what he states is this: I would now assert that the primary driver for chronic disease in the industrialized world is environmental toxins. Wow, that's important. I want to be real clear. I'm not saying that nutritional deficiencies are not a problem. What I am saying is that we've added another even bigger problem, and we are poisoning ourselves with metals and chemicals. So we're actually putting poison into our body every day. So why should we detoxify? Well, there's 82,000 toxic chemicals in our food, air, and water. Our homes, our makeup, all these different things that we put on our body. We're adding an extra 2,000 of them every year. And these toxins are definitely associated with weight gain, immune dysfunction, premature aging, free radical pathologies, which lead to cancers, all kinds of different health problems. So they're one of the major causes of disease. So we have to take a look at, why do we get sick? This is one of the major ones. Now let's take a look at how this happens. We call it the rain barrel effect. So a rain barrel, we have it sitting here and catches the water, and it starts to fill up a drop at a time, little at a time, and starts to build up here. Okay? So the best way to think of how and why you get sick and overweight or just feel blah is to picture a rain barrel or a bucket. The rain barrel is used to catch water. We hold on to it every time it rains. No one ever notices the rain is filling up in the rain barrel, of course, until the rain barrel overflows. And that's what happens to our body. These toxic chemicals build up gradually, a little at a time, until we end up having some major problems with it. Now, where does this start? Where do these toxic chemicals, when do they begin in life? Well, they actually begin in the mother. The mother passes on toxic chemicals in utero. So they did a study, and they took the top 400 of the 82,000 toxic chemicals, and they wanted to see how many of those are in a newborn baby. So in a newborn baby, there was over 230 toxic chemicals in the newborn's umbilical cord blood day one. So that was passed on from the mother. So we already know the baby's starting out with toxic chemicals. Then we take a look at some of the other things that we put in. By age 2, the average child is supposed to have 22 vaccinations now. And each vaccination is going to have certain toxic chemicals in it. It just overloads the system. There's over 3,000 food additives that are now out there put into our food. Those are the things that are going to make the color change, or they're going to make the flavor change. And normally, like a Dorito, we wouldn't be able to eat it without all these additives in there. And the average person accumulates a 150-pound bag of additives every year. We also add in sugar. Sugar is another thing that is totally and completely toxic to our body. The average American eats a 150-pound bag of sugar now. We used to, 150 years ago, eat about 5-pound bag. Now it's 150, like a full-grown person that we're putting into our body. So now we know that diabetes is up 900%. And one of the fastest growing populations is our children and teenagers. So let's take a look at, as it's going through, it's starting to accumulate. We get these toxic chemicals going through: food additives, preservatives, artificial dyes, artificial colors, artificial flavorings, and they all start to build up. There are pesticides, insecticides, herbicides. All of these are causing incredible amounts of toxic buildup until that rain barrel overflows. And now once it overflows, we got problems, because now it's going to come on over here. It's going to create symptoms in our body, but we don't get symptoms until it's all the way up here. So as the rain barrel is filling up, guess what? You don't even know you're sick. You don't even know a disease like cancer is developing in the body. All right? So a side story I wanted to tell you, because these toxic chemicals, are they serious? Do they really cause trouble? Well, my mother in 1971 died of cancer of the cervix. And I know that she used to use a lot of the talcum powder that was used recently, we heard about from Johnson & Johnson, that they knew was a carcinogen. It causes cancer. Well, she died a horrible death over 18 months. And watching this whole thing, I just always wondered, why did she get dead at such an early age, at 39 years old? Well, that's that buildup of toxic chemicals. And finally, it turned on the bad genes in the body, and finally she developed the cancer. At that time, 1 out of every 25 people would get cancer. So President Nixon, he said, we've got to declare war. We're declaring war on cancer. We're going to wipe this out. Everybody, get your ribbons going. Put your walks out there. Raise the money for cancer. We've raised hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, in the year 2018, 1 out of every 2 men and 1 out of every 2.7 women get cancer. So we've gone from 1 out of every 25 to 1 out of every 2. How are we doing on that war? Unless you look at the underlying cause, what's causing it, you're not going to fix the problem. Now, this is really interesting here. We call it the immortal chicken heart. So one of the best examples of how vital it is to keep your blood and your cells clean is an experiment that was conducted way back in 1912. And it was by the researchers at the Rockefeller Institute in New York City. And they were trying to keep a chicken heart tissue alive. So what they did is, amazingly, the living chicken heart tissue continued to pulse day in and day out. However, the trick was that in order to keep it alive and in good health, the liquid around the chicken heart had to be changed daily. So they had to put nutrition in, and they had to get the toxins and waste products out. This experiment would keep going for 34 years. and they kept that heart pumping, even though the average lifespan of a chicken is only 14 years. They kept it going 34. And the only reason why they stopped the heart stopped pumping was the third generation of scientists no longer wanted to keep it up. That experiment, and the chicken didn't die, the heart didn't die, they just quit doing it. They got tired of it after 34 years. So this means that chicken heart lived a minimum of another extra 14 years almost, or 12 years. And it not only did that, but it would have continued going. We don't know how long. So think about your own health. If we put good nutrition into your body every day and we get the poisons out, how long can your cells work? How long and healthy can you be? So some of these, as I said, were pesticides. Now they found that pesticides are linked to cancer and birth defects. They're finding these chemicals in polar bears who are now getting hypothyroid from the PCBs, the Teflon, heavy metal flame retardants, and plasticizers. They're being found in polar bears. If animals in pristine environments are affected by these toxins, what's happening to you and I? Another thing is dioxins. These are extremely toxic pollutants that get into the fat in our body. They are linked to cancer, liver damage, birth defects, hormone problems, and immune problems. And then there's the ones that are in plastics, the BPA. They're found in the food and beverage linings. This hormone disruptor is suspected for promoting breast and prostate cancer, reproductive and behavioral problems, obesity, diabetes. Now check this out. Male fish in the Potomac River are developing female sexual traits at a frequency higher than scientists have never seen before. Males are getting female characteristics. They're in the waterway that provides the drinking for millions of people around the Potomac River. Now there's also phthalates. These are things in vinyl flooring, cosmetics, household cleaners, and even in our food. They're linked to autism, infertility, asthma, ADD, cardiovascular disease, obesity, low IQ, something we don't want to have, thyroid problems, and cancer. And now we found that medications, as we eat all these medications, they get into the system, we urinate them out, they go through the water into the groundwater and out into the oceans. Prozac has been found in the tissues of freshwater bluegills found by Baylor University. Prozac. Now they find oxycodone in the mussels in Puget Sound. So it's getting to everything we eat, these poisons, and we're building them up a little at a time as the rain barrel fills more and more and more. So this is one of the biggest culprits and one of the scariest ones out there as far as I'm concerned. It's called Roundup or glyphosate. And it's been sprayed on almost 90% of the corn and soybean products in this country. Roundup is used in many crops, but is banned. I mean, literally banned for being cancer-causing in many countries in Europe. So they won't even let it come in there. We're spraying it everywhere. There was just a lawsuit where a guy got over $250 million because he's spraying it like this, and that stuff got into his system. He's got all kinds of lymphoma cancers, and he's going to obviously die from this. And there's countless numbers of other lawsuits that are getting ready to get started to try to ban this highly toxic chemical that we're spraying everywhere on our food. We're spraying it out because we thought if we genetically modified the food and spray this chemical, we'll be able to make a higher yield and we'll be able to feed the world. Guess what? It's not true. That's not happening. The 31 out of 45 tested products in children's breakfast foods had higher than what scientists considered safe for children. 31 out of 45. So some of the big ones, and you can look this up, some of the big food manufacturers have got this glyphosate in here, which can cause cancer in children. Toxins in your food. Now, there's a book out there. It's named Food Plague, written by Arden Anderson. He's a PhD. And he went through and he says that the food is being systematically poisoned. And as a result, we are experiencing cellular and tissue damage, leading to organ failure. I mean, our organs are failing. Genetically modified organisms. And they tell you, well, they're normal, there's nothing wrong with them. Found in 70% of the processed foods that we have. GMOs may cause organ damage, gastrointestinal, autoimmune disorders, accelerated aging, and another thing called infertility. That's becoming a huge problem, particularly in males, and they're linking it back to the pesticides and the chemicals that are put into the male. Every single animal study showing GMOs showed gastric inflammation. That means inflammation in the gut. And every wild and domestic animal chose regular food over GMO foods every time, 100% of the time. Another study with mice fed just 10% of GMO food observed shrinking of the kidneys and changes of the liver and the spleen in only 4 weeks, guys. 4 weeks. Over time, kidney failure and bleeding in the intestine was also seen, along with learning and memory seriously were altered. So I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty dangerous. Now, the other thing that they're using a lot is bovine growth hormone. They're putting it into the feed and giving it to the cows, and it goes into the milk, goes into all the dairy, and it's linked to breast cancer, colon cancer, and prostate cancer. It also, in my opinion, is one of the reasons why we see, it's designed to make cows grow faster and give more milk. So they get bigger when they slaughter them, and then they give more milk, okay? Sounds good, except for when we eat it, it makes us fatter. It makes us mature earlier as children. So now we see girls having menstrual cycles at 10 years old. We see developing breasts at 10 years old. We see men maturing much earlier. And that's, in my opinion, is a lot to do with this bovine growth hormone that we've been ingesting for such a long time. Another thing that's very detrimental to our health is nitrates and nitrites. They're in the deli food, the processed meats. They're linked to cancer. Brominated vegetable oil. So they put bromine in vegetable oils. It's used in fruit-flavored drinks and sodas. It is animal studies, high doses of this toxin led to reproductive and behavioral problems. So a lot of the oils that we use are very toxic. The vegetable oils in that are extremely toxic in our system. And we shouldn't be, they're in all the cookies and the donuts and the cakes and all that kind of thing, candies. We got to get those out of our system because they clog up the arteries and they clog up the cells in our body. Artificial dyes and colorings are definitely associated with neurological problems like ADHD. It's one of the first things we tell parents is if your kid has that, they have to be off any artificial colorings or dyes. So the next thing we want to look at is heavy metals, and this is pretty interesting. So some of the major ones are mercury. Well, where do we get that? We can get it from the air, and when we burn coal. We can get it through eating fish. We can get it also from silver fillings in our mouth. Lead, arsenic. They're putting arsenic in the rice now Cadmium can come from batteries and computers, and also from things like smoking. And then copper, excess copper. Well, what do they do? Common signs are, and see if you've got any of these: chronic fatigue, you're tired all the time; digestive discomfort; brain fog, can't remember or focus; immune issues, we get sick more frequently; headaches, achy joints or rashes; Parkinson's, dementia, and Alzheimer's. So that's one of the first things we do, is try to clean those things out and detoxify them for people with Alzheimer's, beginning Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. Now, this is a kind of an interesting video. I'm going to play just a small part of this, and then you can look it up. It's called The Smoking Tooth. I recommend everybody go on YouTube and look at this and watch what happens. This is what happens when you rub or chew or use something hot on your tooth that has a mercury filling in it or silver filling. So what you've seen there is how serious those toxic chemicals from the mercury vapors go into the brain, and that's where we end up having a lot of increased mercury every time we drink a hot cup of coffee or we chew our food. So these heavy metals, and one of my mentors is Dr. Daniel Pompa. He is an expert in heavy metals because he was poisoned with mercury and had to figure out how to get rid of it. And what he states is the body filled with toxic substances such as heavy metals is often confined to a state of weight loss resistance, wherein the body cannot lose weight. So that's one of the keys. That we have so many people come in and go, well, I've tried everything. I'm hardly eating. I'm exercising hard. These heavy metals will block the hormones in your body and not allow you to lose weight no matter what you do. You can't starve yourself out of it. Until the toxins are cleared from the body, individuals will struggle with weight loss regardless of following a strict diet or exercise protocol. So when we look at this, common sources that we get is mercury fillings, lead we can get from seafood, body care products, particularly aluminum in underarm. When we get an antiperspirant instead of a deodorant, it'll have aluminum and aluminum chlorhydrate. Very toxic. Cookware, where we have a lot of the cookware that's got some of the different chemicals on the outside of the cookware, immunizations, and drinking water. Take a look at Michigan. How is their drinking water with lead? Heavy metals. Toxicity affects individuals at the cellular level and compromises how well these cells are going to function. And he further goes on and says, considering the onslaught of toxins to which people are exposed to today and the coinciding obesity epidemic, right now 75% of the population is overweight. A safe and effective heavy metal detoxification program is needed now more than ever. Toxins like heavy metals affect hormones and create hormonal imbalances, which lead to weight loss resistance, improved understanding of hormones and their impact on the metabolism, and weight is critical in winning the war against obesity. So if you want to lose weight, you got to get rid of your heavy metals. Heavy metals will block leptin, which is the thing that tells you I'm not hungry anymore, and releases fat and energy into your body. So it's really important, if you're going to do this, to get somebody, a healthcare practitioner, that's been trained in the removal of heavy metals. Otherwise, you're just going to stir them up. They're going to move around. They're going to stay in your body, and they're going to create more problems. You want to have a practitioner that understands the proper technique of how to do that. And that's one of the things we kind of specialize in here. So let's move on here, and let's take a look at something I think is really, really important here. When we look at the cells here, first of all, this kind of explains how people get healthy and how they get sick. So look over on this side first of all. In order to be healthy, nutrients have to be broken down and go through what we call a cell membrane. The cell membrane should be soft, like a soft contact lens. And once it gets inside the cell, it's going to do its job, and then there's going to be waste products from this, toxic waste. Just like when we eat something, we have to go to the bathroom, get rid of the waste. So that's what a healthy cell does. A sick cell has a damaged cell membrane. They're hard and rigid. So, and these nutrients, some of them will get in and some won't. Because this is so hard here, it doesn't allow the nutrients to come in. So a lot of the nutrients stay out in the bloodstream and never get into the cell, and only some of the waste products can get out. So that's kind of like having dirty oil in your car inside the engine. It does not get out of there and gets trapped, causing disease. So there's basically one cause to disease. It's called cellular deficiency. That is the cause of all disease. The cell is deficient of what it needs to heal, and it's got all these toxins inside of it. Okay? So next we want to talk a little bit more about how does nutrition get into our cells? How does it actually work? So let's take a look at this. So first of all, when we look at this, so let's take a look here. Normally, hormones are going to want to get into the cell. They all have different shapes, and what they do is they come into the cell, into that cell membrane, and they attach onto a receptor site. So they have to attach onto a receptor site, just like your key does when you put it in your car. You stick it in there, it fits perfectly, you turn the car on. Well, that's what happens to these hormones. They go in, they attach to the receptor site. That allows them to come into the cell. It does its job, and the cell has its normal response. It does its job. Now, over here, these are the toxic chemicals. The toxic chemicals mimic or look like our hormones. So they're like an evil twin. The body doesn't recognize them. They come in, they get into the receptor site, and first thing they do is, it'd be like me putting my key in your car. It doesn't fit, but I jam it in there anyway, and then I break off the key. So now it goes in and blocks the receptor sites, and then when my normal hormone comes in to do its job, it can't get in. That doorway's already blocked. The key's already locked in there. So these normal hormones can't get in, and the toxic chemicals get in here, creating a different cellular response. Now, the more we have these hormones that are blocking our natural hormones getting in here, our cells don't do the same cellular response, Say, for example, thyroid hormone should give you more energy. It should keep your hair nice and thick and soft. It should keep you so you lose weight. If it doesn't get in there, we're not going to get that response. We're going to start getting sick. These are called endocrine or hormone disruptors. And they come from the toxic chemicals that are building up in our body in the rain barrel effect. Now, one of the organs that we see that it really attacks a lot is the thyroid. The thyroid's right here in the throat. It's very sensitive. And we get most of the time what we call hypo or low thyroid hormone. All right? Some of the symptoms, now see if you've got these. Some of the symptoms are fatigue, weakness, intolerance to cold. In other words, you got cold hands, cold feet. I'm cold all the time. It's summertime and I'm still cold. Muscle aches and cramps, constipation, not having bowel movements every day, weight gain, or difficulty losing weight. No matter what you try, you're on crash diets and all this stuff, exercising all the time and still not losing weight. If that thyroid hormone does not give you that hormone, it's not going to function. You're not going to lose weight. You can get poor appetite. You can get dry skin, coarse hair, and hair loss. And I see this a lot. Take a look at a lot of gals as they get older. They start losing their hair. It becomes very thin. That's almost always a thyroid deficiency. Eye and face swelling right around the eyes. Deep or hoarse voice. Enlarged tongue. Heavy and irregular menstrual periods. So it affects the female hormones. Depression is one of the number one things I see with thyroid. So if somebody's depressed, check the thyroid. Memory loss. Oh, I got brain fog. I can't think straight. Slow thinking. Mental activities are definitely a big thing with this. And then increased blood cholesterol levels. All related just back to the thyroid getting blocked by these toxic chemicals. So one of the things I want you to understand is that all diseases begin in the gut. And the last webinar we did, we talked about gut. Hippocrates said this way back when. So when we look at the gut, it affects everything. So I want to go through and talk a little bit about the thyroid a little bit more and how that works. Because so many people are being affected by thyroid, and a lot of people don't know that they are. And some have been tested and been told that they're fine when they're really not. So here's how it works. We have what we call the hypothalamus. This is the president. It's in the brain, and it sends out 6 fat-burning hormones for weight loss, but it also sends out thyroid-releasing hormone. And that stimulates our pituitary gland, which is the vice president. It's going to send out a hormone now called thyroid stimulating hormone, and it's going to stimulate this thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is then going to start to make what we call T4. T4 is thyroxine with 4 iodine molecules on it. So in order for the thyroid to work, we got to have some iodine. Next, this goes in the bloodstream over to the liver, the muscles, and to the gut, the digestive system, and that converts it from T4 into T3, so it gets rid of an iodine molecule. Now, T3 is rocket fuel. This is the stuff that your body needs, all your cells, but it goes to target organs like your heart and your liver and your bones and your central nervous system. The problem is these toxic chemicals can get in and block the hypothalamus, block the pituitary, block the thyroid. So sometimes we're not making thyroid stimulating hormone. So a blood test, that's what they normally do, is just check this one only. But unfortunately, they're missing a lot. If they don't do T4, they don't know if the liver's clogged up or the gut is messed up, but it's not converting T4 to T3. Because this is the only thing that works. This is like getting oil out of the ground. And this is after the oil's been to the refinery. It's ready to go. Now, the last thing that happens is that sometimes, remember I told you those receptor sites get blocked in the cell? If they get blocked, then T3 can't get in there, and it'll stay in the bloodstream. And when the doctor takes a blood sample, he's going to say, you got plenty of T3, nothing wrong with you. The problem is that, yes, there's lots of gas in the gas tank, but the fuel filter is blocked, and it's not getting into the engine. So the car is not going to start, or it's not going to run very good. That's one of the biggest reasons why we have thyroid issues, and people don't realize that it's really creating a health problem for them. So how do we detox safely and effectively? First of all, you should detox and have a doctor supervised if you're going to do a high quality, because toxic chemicals can really come out and create some health issues. You want one that's clinically tested to work. You want high quality ingredients, and you also want to make sure it's easy to digest on the digestive system. So here's the latest one that's just come out from Biotics Research. This is one of the top companies in the world for products that are very, very pure. So it's real simple to do. That's why I really like this, and very effective, which I'll show you in a minute. You take a pouch of it's a little powder, and you put it in some water, and you drink that down. Tastes good. You can add some things like berries to it, or some greens to it if you'd like. Also, you take that twice a day, and then you have 2 packets of supplements, which I'll show you what's in that in a second. There's a booklet in there that has the eating plan that we want. It's called an anti-inflammatory diet. And then an instruction booklet, and then they've got a shaker jar so that if you're on the road and you want to take it, you can put it in there, shake it up, and take it with you on the road. So it's really easy to do. And even people that don't want to lose weight, it's really good for them to do this and do a detox. And I recommend the first of the year, obviously. So NutriClear Plus, what's in it? First, it's got NutriClear, which cleans out the liver and the gut. That's the 2 main organs that we've got to clean out. Second of all, it's got these nitrogreens. Nitrogreens are heirloom seeds. They're so pure, it took them 2 years to find a place just to find where they would plant these so they wouldn't get corrupted with genetically modified products. They increase our nitrous oxide, which is huge for our heart. And they've got chlorophyll, which cleans out the gut. And they also have pH. It raises our pH in our body and makes our body less acidic. We also have pre and probiotics in there for gut repair. And these are the tablets that we have that come in a little packet. Livitrit Plus cleans out metals and viruses. MCS2 is also for the liver. These 2 are for the liver. Toxic chemicals. Then it pushes it into the gallbladder. That's beta TCP, and opens up the gallbladder and pushes it out so it doesn't get full of sludge. We also use BioProtect, which is a huge antioxidant designed to be able to protect against free radical damage. So when we get a lot of these really toxic chemicals coming out, they can damage our cells. And so antioxidants are kind of like rust-proofing your car. So if you rust-proof your car and you drive around Minnesota, you get some salt on there, the rust-proofing will keep it from rusting out. And all we have to do is just rinse it off once a month, and chances are we're not going to get a rusty car. If we don't, we will. So antioxidants protect our cells from aging and cellular damage. And the last thing is bromelain. Bromelain comes from pineapple, and it's a all plant-based digestive enzyme, which helps to break down our food and helps to heal up the lining of the gut. Super powerful, easy to do. So we take a shake in the morning, shake in the afternoon or lunch, and then we take this little packet of supplements with us. Now, the first thing you want to do with this is you want to fill out a simple questionnaire symptom survey. So this is where you're going to do it in the beginning and at the end of the 15 days, so you can see how much you've improved with your symptoms. And watch what happens here. So this is a group. This is a group of people that we had. So here's a series of patients that have actually gone through this program for 15 days only. Now watch this. This is really important. Here's patient A. When you go through there, you're going to check all the symptom survey in there. We want to have you be below 15. This person here, symptoms added up to 50. But 15 days later, they were down to 8, an 84% reduction of symptoms and over 12 pounds of weight loss. Now that's pretty amazing. This person here was at a 24, so they weren't really high in the symptoms, but they did get it down to 17, 29%. But look at, they lost 17 pounds in 15 days. This person here, 42, down to 9. You tell me they weren't feeling better. Look at that, 79% improvement and still lost 9 pounds. So when you look at this overall, the average person had 65% reduction of symptoms in their body in just 15 days. I've never had anything like this in my practice before. And the average weight loss was between 7 and 9.2 pounds. So that's an added benefit is the weight loss. Now let's take a look also at the graph. This is the same thing, only this is a graph that we put together that helps to show us what's going on here. So once again, look at this guy, 106, went down to 25. We'd like to see everything under here, but that's a huge improvement in a short time. This one here, 50 down to 8, 73 down to 13, 7 to 9 pounds of weight loss also as a bonus. So we know that this program flat out works. Now let's take a look at, here's a couple of these people that are people that have done this. So this guy's score dropped from 106 to 72. All right, 32% improvement in 15 days. Lost 10 pounds. He says he's highly motivated. And this is what he stated. I have lived with chronic joint and back pain for many years and was very skeptical of anything could help. I really did not think doing a cleanse for 15 days would make any difference. I was very wrong. After 15 days, the pain in my hands and knees was non-existent. The pain in my back was greatly reduced, and as an added bonus, I also lost some weight. Well, he lost 10 pounds. For anyone that is the least bit skeptical, I say do it. It is a true game changer, and it will help you to continue on your path to wellness. So let's check another individual here that came up. Theirs went from 13 to 2. Now look at this. The score was 13 on his pre-test. Now normally we wouldn't put this guy on a cleanse. He's under 15. Now watch what happened. But he suffered from extreme eczema outbreaks on his hands for 8 months. What he said, nothing typical was helping to give me relief. The 15-day cleanse cleared up my eczema. Wow. What an improvement for him. I'm glad we did put him on there. And this person here went from 73 to 11, 85% improvement. I literally had severe pain in all of my joints from my toes to my neck. All my muscles hurt, Saw several chiropractors 2 to 3 times a week for 4 years to deal with the pain and inflammation, and relief was temporary at best. Despite daily ibuprofen, botanicals, aspirin, occasionally some script meds, the pain was intolerable, but it was always present, or it was tolerable, excuse me, but it was present. After going on the internet, I thought I had fibromyalgia, although I never went to see an MD. Virtually my whole body hurt all the time, every day. By the second week of the cleanse, I was dramatically better. And my alternating constipation and diarrhea had also ceased, and now I have 2 regular bowel movements each day. I also had severe insomnia. That's gone too. Thank you for sharing this program with me. This has been a life-changing experience. Just a simple 15-day cleanse. Here's another gentleman that's we did some weight loss with, and he said, prior to going on the weight loss plan, I was experiencing dizziness, lack of energy, craving, high blood pressure. I often felt like I was going to explode from the pent-up tension I was carrying around. Having completed the program, I felt much better. My blood pressure has returned to normal, and the tension has dissipated. Since changing my diet, my body's getting the nutrition it needs. Nutrition in, toxins out, like we talked about, and the cravings have disappeared. I feel like I have my life back, a life worth living. So I hope this has been beneficial for you, and I want to give you a special gift. And what we want to do is, first of all, we want to do just a free consultation to discuss anything that may be going on with you, really taking a look at what your symptoms are, have you fill out that initial symptom survey so we can see where are you starting at. And on top of that, I decided to throw in a urinalysis. And the urinalysis is going to do 22 different tests. It's going to tell me about your gut flora, your good bacteria. It's going to tell me about your stress glands, whether or not your pH, if you're alkaline. It's going to tell me if you're digesting your foods properly. It's going to tell me how toxic your body is, all kinds of things with that. And we're going to put that in there. That's all free of charge when you purchase the detox kit. And remember, once again, the cost of it is one of the things that people ask me always. So I figured out that breakfast and lunch, most people spend about $5 for breakfast, $5 for lunch. If we multiply that times 15 days, it's $150. The whole program is $160, and then there's about $9 to ship it. So under $170, it's probably going to cost you between $10 and $20 out of your pocket if you do the program the way we anticipate. So it's kind of a wash that way. Very, very affordable and super for being able to get results in a short period of time, both in symptoms and in your weight loss. So that's all I have for this webinar. I hope that you've got a lot of good information. Please feel free to give us a call at the number 763-300-3456. We'll get that ordered and shipped out to you right away, and we'll help you make 2019 your best year ever. Thank you, and God bless.